Hey guys, I just wanted to share some thoughts with you. Some pretty deep thoughts. And I think I can explain in a pretty simple way what I think Jesus and Buddha figured out. I want you to think about, I've talked about this in a couple of my previous videos, but this is just like on a thought that I have in my mind that I literally think about every single day. Which is the thought, what if you knew for a fact that you are going to live forever? That you've already been living for forever? What if you knew for a fact that you were an eternal being? That after you died, there was some other life. Maybe you go into a spirit dimension. Then maybe you go into like the fourth dimension. Maybe you get reincarnated as something else. But that who you are lives for forever. And to me that makes perfect sense. It doesn't make sense that out of nowhere, out of emptiness of the void, somehow I popped up and here I am existing. Came out of my mom. Like, where did that come from? Like, who am I? It doesn't make any sense to me, and it's very weird. It's something I think about all the time. It's like, what am I doing here existing? What are you doing here existing? Here you are watching this video on YouTube. You exist. And out of nowhere, somehow you came to being and you exist. And we like to dumb our minds down by like watching stupid shit on TV, listening to terrible music, working jobs to kind of distract our minds from the very simple truth that we actually exist. And is there something special about this? Like, what's going on? Humans, and like, we do so much stupid shit with our lives. We're going to war, we care about money, we care about people think about us. We're trying to do like mainstream media and celebrity culture and like politics and lawyers and prisons. Like, what are we doing? Like, we exist, and then we're just doing all this stupid shit. And if you think about if you were existing for forever, suddenly all the terribleness and all the badness stuff shrinks. Because on an infinite time frame, there's really nothing serious. You'll just go on to live a different life after you die, or maybe it'll be like you keep all these memories somehow and you're living in like an alien dimension. Who knows what's going on, but everything is suddenly kind of insignificant. And a big thought that helps you realize this is that if you live for forever, who is that you? Is there actually a you? Because am I the same me? There's like a train going by right over there. But am I the same me who I was when I was a baby? When I was 12? When I'm 23? Yeah, when I look back, that was all me. But let's say in another life, is that still me? In my next life, is that still going to be me? Let's just assume that I live for forever and there's like an infinite amount of lives. Yeah, maybe in a billion lives, is that still me? And maybe there's lives where, like in this life right now, maybe it's like you cut off your memory. You like shed out all memory that you've ever had so you could be more in this life. Almost like playing a video game. You like jump into this video game temporarily, and then when you're done playing the game, you like all your memories come back. That's kind of like how I feel about this life. It's like I've lived probably an eternal amount of different lives, but it's almost like in one of those eternal experiences, I was like, let's forget about all these eternal memories and experiences I've done. And it's like, let's jump into a video game where you play GoldJacketLuke, and you play this video game with a bunch of other people, and we'll all jump out of it and have our infinite eternal memories and experiences again. And if you think about it, if you lived for an eternal amount of time, after an eternal amount of time, is there a you? Is there actually a me? Because after an eternal amount of time, you're a completely different person. You're in such a different alien dimension, personality, experience than you are right now, that who you are is a completely 100% different person after an infinite amount of time. So who is the even you who's being you right now? Who's the me who's being me? And what I think what Buddha and Jesus realized was this fact, is that who they really are is actually God. There's no you, there's no me. These are just temporary games we're playing with ourselves. And that the only way that there could be an infinite amount of experiences if there's one point in that infinite amount of experiences where everyone is one, where everyone is God. because that's the point where infinity and eternity can happen, and that's who our true nature and core is. And I think Jesus and Buddha had experiences in their life where they knew this, where they felt it, where they felt that this was just a game, and that who they really were is the core and fabric of existence, of eternity, and an infinite amount of everything. And the term people and I like to use is God. And basically, we are all God going through an infinite amount of different experiences. And there isn't even a Luke, there isn't even a whoever you are watching this video, there isn't a Jesus, there isn't a Buddha. There's an infinite amount of different games we could all play, but deep down we're all everything. We're all eternity, we're all infinity. There is no me, there is no you. But you see, me right now really wants there to be a me, because I'm me. I don't want, after an infinite amount of time, for there not to be a GoldJacketLuke. That's because there's me. But if you're a God, who else could you be besides a me? So there's a paradox at play here. And so what Jesus did was he came out and said, I am God. And I think his message got misinterpreted. I think, there's even a quote in the Bible that says, didn't I also say, thee are also all gods? Jesus' message actually was that we are all gods. And people in power didn't feel that they were God, never had that experience. And they were like, nope, only you are God, Jesus. And people who didn't have these thoughts, realizations, experiences, just gave that God title just to Jesus. Because Jesus coming out and saying, I am God, made all those people feel insecure that they weren't having experiences where they thought they were God. And the whole history of Christianity and Jesus is a misinterpretation of Jesus saying, I'm God, when actually he was saying that everyone was God. And now I think Buddha had the same realization, but instead he realized that he was infinity and eternity and everything. He realized that everything was God, everyone was God, that there is no Buddha, there is no me, there is no you. We're all just playing temporary roles right now. But Buddha was a little possibly smarter than Jesus, maybe just a different perspective. But instead of saying I am God, Buddha said I am nothing. And that ultimate reality is nothingness. While Jesus was basically ultimate reality is God and everythingness, Buddha said ultimate reality is nothingness, that everything is temporary. And you can embrace suffering by realizing it's just a temporary illusion and that everything is illusionary. But deep down, Buddha, I'm guessing that's how Buddha felt. Those are like the two different experiences of being God, either nothing or everything, and that God is actually a paradox of both of those at the same time. But Buddha's message doesn't make anyone feel insecure. If you tell someone that you are nothing, then people aren't going to go and kill you on a cross. People aren't going to get insecure around you. Well, I think Jesus made people feel incredibly insecure, especially the people in power. I mean, that's the history of religion, is making people feel insecure about them not understanding the spiritual experiences that you're having, right? So true spirituality is actually being like openness, kindness, and humble, which Jesus exemplified, and Jesus was like the perfect example of that. But Buddha was like, we're all nothing, because if the person Buddha lives for infinity, eventually there's no Buddha. It's just all these different acts and parts and plays and games that he's playing. And that the deep down nature of who I am and who you are watching this video is that we are eternity, everything, and you are an eternal being experiencing all these creations of God being God, that everything is actually going perfectly. But what is perfect for an infinite amount of time? If you think about a video game, if you were God and you lived for infinity and you had to create the perfect video game, eventually playing the perfect video game for an infinite amount of time, eventually you would maybe create video games where you suffered because you just wanted to experience a more broader range of emotions. I'm afraid this video might be over, like my camera only records for like 12 minutes and then it cuts off and I sometimes talk and I'm like, fuck, I didn't record that, so I'm gonna pause it and restart it just to make sure this isn't lost. Alright, I'm back. So you are as an infinite being. Buddha's right, you are nothing, because after an infinite amount of time, who are you? Who is me? There is no me because there is an infinite amount of time. You see it? Because after an infinite amount of time, there can't, unless you have every single memory of infinity all at once, the only person who you really are is God. And any other thing is just a part of you playing, pretending you're not God for a temporary amount of time. So Buddha is right, that everyone is actually nothing, but there are moments in an infinite amount of time, or maybe only one moment, where everyone is God. And Jesus is like, that moment is actually all the time right now. And I think they're both right, that moment is all the time right now, but most people can't see or feel that. And in that moment right now, there are beings who are having extreme, there are people in the game, they're actors of God not being God, so we could be real, where there is extreme suffering and extreme pain. And I think the two real problems of existence are, is there a me? Because me wants there to be a me because I'm me. But after an infinite amount of experience of me being me, is there a me? And the problem of pain with free will and the infinite amount of like games you could play as being God. It seems like lots of experiences we like to give ourselves is experiences of free will where other people want to give you pain. And it's all God, and I think when you go out to the infinite perspective, all those experiences, looking back after having them, when you realize you are God and the love is so strong and maybe some other dimension after you experience all that pain, you look back and say it was all worth it and it was the most beautiful thing ever. But then just like at the end of a movie, let's say you live like 10,000 lives, the movie ends, but you still have an infinite amount of more lives to play as being God. So there is no final point, there is no finish line, there's what are you going to do as God? And I really like something Alan Watts said, which is think about someone think about going through like a walk in the forest. Think about someone who's just like going on a hike. And is there really any point to that? And that you kind of just go in the forest and you're taking a walk just for the sake of taking a walk, and you're kind of just getting lost and you're kind of just in your thoughts walking around. And is there a point really into that walk? But you're kind of just walking for the walk, you're not in the future, you're not in the past, but you're just kind of getting lost in the woods. Have you ever gotten lost in the woods? Just throwing some stones at the lake. And the point of existence is to have experiences like that where you get so completely lost in this infinite amount of experiences that you have as an eternal being, that you get so lost that it feels real, and you could have these insane real experiences of just love and ecstasy. But at the same time, it comes at the cost of having extreme lost experiences of suffering and pain. And so what's the answer? And there is no answer. So what are we doing? And I think the only answer is I don't know, but we're here. And it only makes sense that if we are living, to assume that if you're going to live life, if you're going to exist, it makes sense to me to have the most positive beliefs about what could be happening. And in some way beyond, we're in the game right now, but in some ways to imagine that some infinite level of this game, that everything will play out perfectly for infinity in ways beyond our imagination. And that the point of this game is to get so lost that it doesn't make sense. Because if it does make sense, there's nothing to be made sense out of. So we actually like being the parts in the roles. And see, I'm not making sense, but there's no sense to be made. Because there's nothing to be made. You know, we're here for forever. There's infinity, and in an infinite amount of things. Imagine a movie that played for infinity. You imagine a video game that lasted for infinity. There is no ending to the game. There's no when Mario saves the princess. There's just game after game after game. So for me to explain an answer to the game the answer is me making this video and you watching this video right now. Here's the answer in this moment. And sometimes this moment, I was reading this thing about this Japanese girl. When she was 18, she was kidnapped and raped and tortured for 44 days before kidnappers killed her. They would get light bulbs and stick them up her vagina and anus. They cut her tits off. They did all these extreme amounts of torture. 40 guys raped her. And that's experiences like that of extreme pain seem to be part of the game, which I don't like. What the fuck? Here I am talking to a camera when probably 3 billion people in the world are having really shitty experiences in life right now. And what are you doing about that? You're just here watching this video, and I'm here talking about it. What's there to do? And on the other hand, 1 million people are having amazing sex right now. And all these people are going to be living infinite amount of different existences. They already have been. It's there's nothing to talk about. What have I been talking about in all my videos? Because it's all eternal. there's nothing to do. We are all God and we are all nothing at the same time. There is no me, there is no you. If you think you're sane, come hang out with me for a day and I'll make you insane. Any sane, normal person I could just have a conversation with and you'll go insane. So what's going on? And I think the only thing you could do is trust it and let go. And that's all there's to it. And once you trust it and let go, you stop being the actor that you're playing. I stop being GoldJacketLuke and almost I turn into God. And the less there is of me, the more there is of God, which who I really am is God. And I could feel God in some experience that I do in life. And that feeling is beauty. And the only thing we could live for is those beautiful experiences where the actor really doesn't exist and who we really are comes out. But me as an ego, me doesn't want me to not be here because I am me. But the only experiences of beauty I could have is when me is not here. So what am I talking about? So like I can't do anything. I just have to let go and trust it. And it's like, what am I telling you guys to do on all these videos? It's, I don't know, but this is just what's happening and we just have to let go and trust it. And if you, the other option is, well, like the other end of the philosopher, which is like Nietzsche, and be the Uberman and like overcome this thing. Even like R.C. Tyler, let's take over the world and fuck all these bitches and mastery of yourself and work really hard. Kind of like a modern example of this who lots of you guys know. There's like two paths you could do. You could either work hard and conquer this reality of existence, or you could completely let go and trust it. And it seems like both answers work. Or you could be a person who doesn't even like watch videos like this or think about this stuff and just exist, which is automatically just letting go and trusting or working hard, but you're just not aware of it. Alright, I think I'm done talking, but I'm just letting go and like, I don't even feel like I'm doing this. Am I even making this video? Who's making this video? And who are you listening to it? Because it's not me, it's not you. Is this all God in this moment? Or is this all nothingness in this moment? I hope this video can maybe help you guys understand me, because what I've just been talking about for like the last 20 minutes is who I am like all the time in my subconscious. It's like, what the fuck is going on? What's happening? I'm probably the most confused person in the world who you've been listening to all these times in these videos. Like, what? I exist, and I think the purpose of existence is to experience lots of love. But there is no end game because the movie goes on forever. So I'm just gonna end this video. We exist. Like, what the fuck am I talking about? I hope this video helps you guys understand me more. Alright, done. Peace out. That's a turtle that was chilling right next to me, listening to me give this talk. Check that little guy out. Alright, so I just filmed that video and I just watched it here at this little swamp thing that I'm at. I just watched what I just talked about and I thought it was pretty cool. Definitely the weirdest video I've ever released, probably. And I think lots of people are going to watch and get really confused. Lots of people are going to watch and probably unsubscribe, and I'm like, I'm not going to watch a 20-minute video of Luke not making sense. But I'm guessing for just a handful of you guys, you'll watch it and be like, that's exactly what I think. That's really cool that you're thinking that too, because I've been thinking about that for years and I've never heard anyone think of similar thoughts to that. And it's those like just couple people who like I create that connection with that makes it all worth it. It's like, these are thoughts, like I literally think about what I talked about for those 20 minutes like all the time. And it's beautiful when you could express something in your mind and like be able to connect, even if it's just one person. So comment below what you thought about my 20-minute rambling. And I want to end that you could like listen to what I'm saying and maybe get depressed because you could say, oh, maybe I don't exist. Maybe it's all just a game and it's after an infinite amount of time I don't even exist. But it's always best to think to believe the most empowering thing, because that's if God is happening, which it is, the best thing is happening, and to assume that somehow that you do exist for infinity. that there actually is a real you that exists for infinity. Like, my biggest insecurity in life is that I don't exist. Like, but it makes sense that if I do exist, and like, how did that happen? What's the best thing possible that could be happening in reality? And to believe in that, and to trust it, and to let go. And it's fun to have these thoughts and express them to understand our insecurities. Like, but I think Luke Eilers, who I am, exists for forever. Somehow I believe it. I can kind of just feel it. I don't want to be God. I think what God is loneliness, and what God did was He, at the beginning of time, or whatever, it was a complete self-emptying system. God emptying Himself into all of these different parts that exist for forever. And maybe Buddha is kind of right that you can never be God. That it's all nothingness. But me, you, Jesus, everyone exists as these eternal beings that will be playing games for an infinite amount of time. And that there is a real you, that there is a real me, and somehow things are perfect even though things are infinite. And somehow in the future things will make sense even though things are infinite. But to not think about these things and get depressed, not think about these things and get confused, but to think about them and realize it makes sense, if you're going to have these types of thoughts about what reality is and about who you are, to have the most empowering, beautiful thoughts that you can have, and that the best thing happening is happening. It just makes sense to me to trust it, and that you do exist, and that things are perfect, and that the nature of reality is unconditional love and infinite magic, and that we are all in heaven right now, and heaven is eternity, and we are all parts of God. Whatever is the best possible thing that could be happening in your imagination, that's what's happening times like an infinity, like exaggerating in a good way. Like, imagine in your head that God does exist, and imagine God creating the perfect heaven, and that's what you're in right now. That the best possible thing happening is happening, that you do exist, that I exist, that everything is real, and that somehow, even if you have the most torturous, depressing, traumatic experience, in the future it'll make sense and you'll be glad you had it, and that somehow things are all perfect. And it's weird to, like, one of my big messages is whatever is going on in here, to express it. That's kind of what I do with my channel. And after I kind of expressed all those thoughts in my mind in that 20-minute video, I watched it. Right now I kind of feel good. There's like some turtles in the ponds here that my awareness kind of brought me to. I feel good right now. I kind of feel some beauty. I don't have the emotion of confusion right now. I kind of released those confused thoughts. And I have the feeling that I could trust it, and that I can't describe what's happening with language, but that things are perfect, and that I am real, you are real, and all this is love, and we're in heaven right now. And it makes sense to believe in the most positive thing possible, and I feel good right now. I'm enjoying looking at this turtle. Alright. Things are perfect. You exist, I exist. Don't be confused, but if anything, I like to maybe tie a message to what I talk about. If there's some thoughts that you have, some insecurities that you have, whatever is troubling you in your life right now, whatever it is, express it. Whether it's to a therapist, whether it's to a friend, whether it's in a journal, whether it's on an online forum, but whatever problems, whatever things are bugging you down, like, the biggest message I have as a message giver is to express what's going on in your mind, and somehow expressing that tends to lead towards feeling good and answers. So express. Done.